don't you want to know why Zach hates him?
He has a history of embellishing stories.
Okay.
And other people have said that to
Like when he
me.
said he'd be an actor again?
Oh, shit. You throwing shots.
And again, I have no idea what's going to happen here. And I should not have said any of this and had this conversation at all.
You hated JDF?
Let's burn a bridge because I was here for this moment. WalterEJones is a great dude. Like I have not a bad word to say about him. I was with him at a show, and JDF had tweeted something along the lines of Johnny Young Bosch is my favorite Black Ranger. And I was in the car with Walter when that happened. And you could see his.
All right, everyone. I am here with Matthew C Egan, fellow toy collector and Power Ranger enthusiast, Comic-Con attender.
What gave you that idea?
Collector all around. And unfortunately, we're meeting under different circumstances what I would have liked to meet. We're talking about Zachary's post regarding JDF. And Matthew has a long history with Zachary.
Yeah, so I met Zach McGinnis at Alamo City Comic-Con here in San Antonio, and this would have been 2014. And at the convention, several of the guests, it was their first year, and several of the guests didn't have banners for their booths. And among those was Peter Mayhew, who played Chewacca in the Star Wars movies. And so I wound up making 11 banners for these folks, like including like Lurch from the Addams Family, like all sorts of, but Peter Mayhew was the big one. And I started helping the family out with websites and things. And I started working with Zach a bit and going to shows. And he was a very polarizing person. Like, I think like everybody hates every agent. Like that's just a thing within the industry.
Yeah.
But he was very impressed with himself. And he believed that he deserved to be the best. And I started to watch him bit by bit just be awful to people.
Right.
And what he's saying today about JasonDavidFrank, who when I met him, when I met JDF, I worked with him probably a dozen times at different shows. But when I first met him, we were taking him like back to photo ops and stuff and like trying to just going about keeping his schedule because he always had a crazy line, right?
Yes. The longest, yeah.
Well, and he was like, we had like a 3-minute lull. He goes, hey, since we have a break, do you guys want to take a picture or anything? Like, is there anything you want me to sign? And it was like, really? Like, I would never ask. Right. So it was like, it was great that he was, I might have asked the agent or whatever, try to set it, but I don't want to be that guy. And so he was like, yeah, let's take a picture. And like, I was like, man, I brought my dragon dagger. Because my grandmother and I used to go out back in the 90s. You had to get to Toys R Us at like 7 in the morning to line up because they would get their boxes of Power Ranger toys on Thursday morning. And if you wanted that dragon dagger, they'd get like 4. And so there'd be 20 parents lined up and they'd want different Power Ranger things or whatever. And I never got it. I like all the times that I never got the dragon dagger. And I found one at a convention and he signed it for free. Like I just brought it to the table. He goes, and he signed it and he hands it back like totally for free just because I was helping him out. So he was helping me. Like he was such a nice guy, and who has not had a bad day? Like I understand people say, oh, well, he had a temper or whatever, but like I have a temper, you know what I mean? Like everybody's had bad days. So, it just seeing that today, I had a falling out with Zach it would have been probably 2016 or thereabouts, maybe 2017. And I worked with him for about a year and change. And we were at LexCon in Lexington, Kentucky, comic and toy show, whatever it's called. And we were sharing a hotel room. I was helping him out. And he locks me out of the hotel room until 3 a.m. because he went on Grindr and he found a partner to hook up with. And I guess this is a lot of these agents and some of these guests too. Like they travel to hook up because wherever their girlfriend is back home or their wife or whatever, like if it happens out of town, it doesn't count, which is totally not true.
Oh my goodness.
But no, like the things I've seen,
I can only imagine.
So I would be off tomorrow if I told some of those stories. But he meets this guy and he locks me out of the room until 3 a.m. and I have to work. Like I'm not a big drinker. I'm not a party guy.
Right.
Like I want to sleep because I'm going to be on my feet. I'm going to be running around, like taking people to photo ops and doing all this convention stuff. And when I finally get a text, and I'm like blowing up his phone, like, let me go to sleep. Right. When I finally get up, he and this guy, the guy has decided to stay the night, and they're both in their tidy whities. And again, this is my boss, right? They're both in their tidy whities. They both wrap their arms around me in the middle of this hotel room, and I'm just like trying to get into bed.
So you're in a sandwich.
Yeah, it was like, and I mean, don't get me wrong. I love my rainbow friends of all spectrums, but I don't know this guy, and they're like touching me, like it was just. And then I get in bed, and they had put a wet condom so that my bare toes would touch it.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
that is horrible.
It was. Oh my God, because they're like, you don't know who this guy is. They just like, and then his condoms sitting in like, I hope it wasn't used. I don't know. It was wet. That's all I know. Okay. And so we get into this big fight, and like, we kind of wind down. And then while I was waiting, kicked out of the room. You ever seen Revenge of the Nerds?
Yeah, wait.
There's a character called Booger, right?
Oh yeah, our age is showing for sure.
And he played like the Metatron on Supernatural and stuff. Like he'd done a bunch of other things, but he was live tweeting from the bar in the hotel because he had a show on TBS at the time, so he had to live tweet it in each time zone. And then the next day he signed this thing for me because he was sitting there with me stuck at the bar, and I was exhausted. I couldn't go to sleep, but he was like, to my good friend Matthew, remember, always get your own room.
Oh, 100%
and that became like a meme. Like,
so
don't wind up helping these people out that try to make you share a room with crazy people.
So your history goes back when you, I believe you said he was a rep. So what is the job of a rep? If you were repping for an actor, is it just generally to book gigs and kind of like a manager role?
Comic book stores, things like that. So the convention will sign a contract that says, I guarantee that this person will make $10,000, and I'm just not, somebody like, Hugh Jackman would be $500,000 or something for a day or two or whatever. Right. Whoa. But then somebody like, Austin St. John, 5 to 10,000 when he was first coming back. But I've seen him with no line now. Like the demand has come down quite a bit since he kind of returned. I think some of it is the federal case against him. Some people kind of, and I don't know. I don't love the guy. I don't hate the guy, but I don't know anything about that. So like and it would all be my personal opinion. Like I don't have any information on that, but he always did strike me as somebody who a lot like, and I think that's why he and Zach are still working together, even despite how Zach acts. But he kind of had like, so Austin St. John told me a story, and I can repeat this because I don't know, this is a privilege, but he was talking about when he was in the military, and I think he was a contracting medic.
Here we go. Yeah. I'm familiar. Let's hear this story.
And you might know, I don't know, but they were talking about how like this one guy like dropped the ball on like a watch or something, which matters. Like that puts your brothers at risk. Like I get it completely, but he talked with great pride about how they whooped the shit out of that guy, right? And he was like I'd known him for a day, and he's talking about how this guy that let him down, he and his friends beat the living shit out of this guy when he was a medic with the military, right? So it's kind of like I was, and I mean they're martial artists and stuff, and they tend to be like bros already, whatever. But like Jason David Frank was always kind of that friendly uncle, like macho, but like super warm, right?
Yeah.
And then Austin was kind of the toxically masculine kind of, and I'm sure all these Red Ranger haters or lovers are gonna show up and tear me apart. But that was my impression, and I don't know. I was not surprised when he got indicted and the feds. Like, I don't know if you've heard like people talking about Trump's odds and stuff with like the federal case, but the feds don't indict you if they don't have you, right? Like they have like a 96% conviction rate. So if the feds said he did this, he probably did.
Well, I've covered his indictment. I've showed it on my channel, and what ended up happening.
How has that gone over?
He has a court date. I think the trial is supposed to start in May 2024.
Okay. These trial dates, COVID messed the courts up so bad. There's so many cases that are delayed.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
what they got him on, or what they alleged he did, was take a $230 some odd thousand dollar PPP loan for
Hmm.
Austin St. John Enterprises. He kicked back some of the people who were in it. He gave them some money allegedly, and then he invested about 170,000 with I believe a guy who's cooperating with the investigation. So I don't know how it's
Yeah.
going to turn out. Um, I It's not surprising when Zach made that post, and I see he's repping Austin St. John, who also
Right.
had a big axe to grind with JDF.
He did. Yeah. And I'll tell you, I mean, you remember how it was. If a convention posts up, hey, who would you like to have at this con? You're going to hear Amy Jo Johnson and you're going to hear JDF before you hear any other Power Ranger. And I'm friends with a lot of the like they're amazing people.
Yeah.
Okay. But people love JDF in a way that and the JDF, Amy relationship, I think, was very I got to do Amy Jo Johnson's very first convention appearance. It was also in Lexington, Kentucky.
Uh-huh.
And this was at LexCon, and she did, it was like a side event. I think she wasn't ready to like go into the big hall, and she is now, but she played a song, like she had her album and everybody got the album signed, and she did a photo op, but it was all like, it was like a room with multiple stations. So like you get your autograph here, you get your photo op here, and then on the stage you like, and then you sit, and then at the end of the line she would sing for everybody. And it was really cool. And the promoter of LexCon, the guy's name is Jared.
Uh-huh.
And I'm telling this story for a reason, but he had to go do other things. He was like, he ran the whole con. And so the whole con was happening while this side event was happening. And so he left and he was like, dude, I don't know what to do. And I was like, I got it. Like, this is one guest in one room. Like, I can handle this. Go. And he was so happy at the end of the day. He came and kissed me on the cheek.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Like legitimately, like he was so excited. And because it's just, he needed somebody he could trust. He paid me. Like, I was a paid employee of LexCon, not like a W-2 employee, but like I got paid for the weekend. And then when Zach and I had the falling out, he told me, he's like, look, I rely on Zach for too many of my guests. You cannot come to my show anymore. And so here was a guy that literally kissed me on the cheek 1 minute. Like, I flew out on my own dime when he opened a comic book store. He opened like a collectible store. And like I went out to support him because I was a big fan of the show. And, and guess who his opening guest was? JDF.
Oh, wow.
So, and I haven't talked to him about this. I don't know how he feels about Zach trashing JDF, but like Jared and JDF were supposed to be tight. So I'm sure he's not thrilled about this. But when Zach screwed me over, he started trying to blacklist me. The show in Laredo, when we finally had the falling out, we were at a show in Laredo, and we had gone out. We were drinking something that inspired me to drink a lot. I'm a real lightweight, so I was pretty drunk, but okay. I was pissed because I see him swiping left, swiping right. He's on Grindr. He's looking for the next hookup, right? And I'm like, dude, you are not doing this to me again. I'm not having no wet condom under my bed sheet. Like this is not a thing that is going to happen. So he calls the police. No joke. Zach McGinnis calls the police on me. Wow. And tells them that I was crashing the con. Okay. And he filmed it. Like I'm sure now that I'm speaking out, he's going to release this video of the police like escorting me out of this hotel room. But so these border police show up in Laredo, which is like right on the border of Mexico here in Texas. And he's like, he's crashing the con. He's sneaking in. He's not. And he was trashed. So like his excuses were bad. But the police are like, sir, his luggage is right there. He's not crashing this. Like, you guys are clearly friends and you had a falling out. Right. Like, don't lie to us. Like, so he's lying to the police, right? And the police eventually say, look, sir, like, your name is on the room. The room is in his name. And again, this falls into that always get your own room rule, right?
100%. Yes.
And people have been like, whoa, we want to put you with a roommate. And it's like, no. Like, if you want me, I get my own space because I've had horror stories. I have cameras with me and stuff. Like, I'm not sharing a room. And so
traumatized.
The police like tell me I have to leave the room because I'm not on the hotel reservation. So because it's his room, he has the right to kick me out. So he kicks his own employee out of the hotel room for asking him not to hook up with strangers down in Laredo. And so I go and I get my own room. And then the convention tells him the next day, you don't tell us who works for our con. Matt works for us now. So, I mean, I sat at the main table and like, sold tickets. Like, I still work for the convention.
You still were there. Yeah.
He was just like, don't bother Zach. Don't get you like, and he said, I feel terrible that I didn't get you your own room in the first place. Like, the promoter was great. The guy's name is Marco down in Laredo. I don't know if after COVID, if he's still doing the con or not. I haven't followed up, but he was super kind to me, and they were like, no, you're our guy. We're not kicking you out. And he did not respect Zach's request to like blacklist me or whatever.
Oh, that's good.
But LexCon unfortunately did. And he tried to blackmail me, blacklist me at Comic Palooza in Houston. He tried to do it and he succeeded at LexCon. And that hurt because it was like, I had flown out for their grand opening for their store. I had flown out. Like it was hard because I'm from Southern California, and my first, like, when I turned 18, I moved to Hollywood, and I left LA because people come to you because they want something,
right?
And you never know who your friends are or if they're using you. And I owned my camera back. I had a Sony PD-150, like the big honking camera back then. And so people would want me to come on projects because then they didn't have to rent a camera.
Yeah, 100%.
So, like, I thought I had friends, but you never knew who was your friend and who was like just using you for who you knew or whatever. I worked for the OneRing.net back then, so like people wanted to be my friend so they could meet like Lord of the Rings actors or whatever.
Oh, 100%, 100%.
Yeah, it's so, and a lot of that happens with the conventions, and that's kind of how Zach gets away with so much because like I said, he's got those tentpole actors. So like,
I'm looking at his client list. I mean, he has Greg Abbey, David Accord, Cliff Alliston. Some of these people draw huge crowds. Dickie Beer, like, Jesus, how does him with his reputation manage to land these big headline acts?
Yeah, Bruce Boxleitner breaks my heart because I'm a big fan, so he holds people over people, right? So if he needs to make you like him, and let's say he finds out you're a huge, so like Nakia Burrise, you saw her in those comments. She said, I have no business relationship with him, and I have already asked him to take me off his website.
Yes,
right?
I've seen that video.
Is not a exclusive booker with Zach either, but he's got him up on his website like that's his guy. I will have to have a conversation with Denise Crosby. I didn't know she was on there. But,
so you're going through this just like
a friend
me.
of mine, and I sent an email today about this to the powers that be, so they know about it. I don't want to name the name, but it's a Star Wars actor, and they had been threatened by Zach and said that he has a contact at Lucasfilm and Disney, and if they stopped booking with him, he was going to contact them and blacklist them so that Lucasfilm never hired them on another Star Wars project.
What?
And this is somebody from the original trilogy who, a lot of the Mandalorian stuff, they like to bring people in as kind of Easter eggs or have them do a voice or have them do an appearance, whatever. And so he was basically implying that he had that power. And so the guy did speak out. He contacted me asking if I would be a part of a class action lawsuit. And I had to unfortunately explain, like, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
But like, so David Fielding's a great example. After I fell out with Zach, I ran into him and his wife at an event, and you could tell that they were kind of like, they didn't want to be seen with me, right? Because he had just poisoned the well completely. Where now David, who was somebody, like, who doesn't love Zordon, right? Like,
right, yeah.
Somebody I really respected.
The power always protect you,
Yeah. Like, but then I don't know if you can see it, but like, I got my morphers over there. Like, I used to I would draw pictures of myself as the orange Power Ranger when I was a kid. Like, that was my jam. And like, I was really excited about that. But it like really savaged this whole thing, and like defending JDF today and all of this almost like reignites my love for Power Rangers after the damage, because Austin St. John was with him in Laredo when he pulled the trigger and we got in the big fight.
Yeah.
So like it was bad.
Where is Austin St. John? I know he's on here. I've seen him.
Is he not the top of the list?
He's not at the top. He's not at the top. And I was at Rangerstop Orlando, and
okay.
I mean, his line was not that big, and I'm not the biggest fan of Austin St. John. But he didn't recognize me, so we took a selfie.
I did hear about Kevin Sorbo that he had, because Zach is gay, and Kevin Sorbo is very conservative, very Republican, and he has said some really awful things about the LGBT community. And people confronted Zach about that, like, why are you repping this guy? And he goes, because he makes me money.
Hey, people,
and that was all that mattered. And I have chewed out some friends of mine, and I would love to name names, but
please don't.
I would be the bigger person here, but
let's
I
keep
have
Zach
told them
our
what
focus.
He did. Yes, but I've told them what he did to me about the condom under the bed sheets and trying to, like, everything he did. My ex-wife Sarah. Actually, the bed used to be right where I'm sitting right now. This is our master bedroom, but we turned it into our office. But the bed was right where I'm sitting, and he pinned my ex-wife down against her will, and he then took a picture on top of her to send it to me to say she finally found a real man. And after that, she was so uncomfortable that she never was willing to work with him alone again, because
this guy sounds like a monster.
His joke was more important than getting her consent, right? Like, yeah.
This guy sounds like a straight monster, and I guess it's on par with.
And that's all they care about, you know. And it's like, you could tell somebody, hey, he just shot up that bus full of nuns. Well, but he makes me money.
He makes his money, right?
He makes me money, and that's enough for some people, you know.
Yeah. And now that we got all that out the way, we had all that backstory, your history with him, what happened when you saw this post? Because I didn't find it. Someone messaged it to me. And I just did like a little memorial live stream yesterday about JDF. We had a nice little audience. And I see this, and I'm just like, what the hell? What would possess someone to say this?
Talk about not reading the room, right? Like, literally on the day of the anniversary.
Right.
I think, you know, when someone takes their life, we all wonder what we could have done. I think there are so many people within the Power Rangers community that were friends with him at various levels that felt like, you know, what can I do? And if this guy's job is to take Power Rangers and other people to conventions, why would you stab them in the back like that, or in the face? I mean, like, talk about like, and with your own name and in writing.
This is an absolute FU to all JDF fans, and I would argue to say all Power Ranger fans, because a lot of people know JDF held the franchise year after year, keeping it relevant. When people were losing viewership, Saban called him, hey, we need you to come join Power Rangers Turbo. Hey, we need you in Dino Thunder. We need you for this movie. Can you make a cameo? So for him,
it was the bait to launch these new things. You know, and it was the blessing, right? And they bring him back sometimes for the whole season. And how do you not give him credit for? You can see here, it must chap your ass that the Red Ranger floats each year instead of you. Who the fuck cares about the Macy's? He didn't even spell Macy's right. Like, who cares about nobody cares about the Macy's parade.
No one cares.
The only guests on the Macy's parade are people from, like, the Hallmark Channel. Okay, it is not primetime television, folks. Like,
no.
But he hinged. You can hear how jealous he is of how popular the Green Ranger was, as if people's love for Tommy Oliver is a personal insult to Zach. Like, if anybody ever had main character energy, it's Zach, who just thinks it's all about him. And, like, the Red Ranger's in the parade, that's my guy.
Yeah.
You know, it's a Power Ranger. He was the leader of the originals.
Yeah.
They picked that one. What if it was the Pink Ranger? Would people say, oh, it's woke? Like, fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, it's a Power Ranger in a parade. Like, when was the last time a Macy's Day float was important? No offense to anybody that, like, loves them, you know, but, like, it's not important.
Not to the Power Ranger
half
community.
Of his thing about this, you know, I'm glad you're dead. He can't even spell your right, for one. Like, he can't spell Macy's. Like, this is such a mess.
This was like an emotionally charged post. He was probably
But he's supposed to be with Warwick Davis in fucking Wales. Go get a pint. Go get on British Grindr. Like, I don't know, but, like, this is how he spent his time. What is it now? Probably 28 hours ago. This is how he chose to spend his time in Wales. Well, if I was in Wales, I'd go see things. I'd go see Stonehenge. I don't know if that's in Wales, but it can't be far. Like, you know, I'd go do things, not trash somebody like you can hear how low Zach must be in his heart that he's still this jealous of a guy that died a year ago. Like he's every time somebody posts, you know, rest in peace, we miss you, we love you, it offends him personally. And I know that Austin St. John knows how he is.
Oh, 100%.
I know full well that Austin knows exactly. I told him, I've had friends that told him, one of Peter's agents had a conversation with him to say, you know, all the stuff he had done. And I didn't even talk about that. I mean, he threatened the Mayhews the same way. It's kind of like a don't go and book with somebody else. They had sent Zach photos from the Star Wars Episode 7 set. Okay. Mm-hmm. And it's their agent. Okay. Like probably maybe they shouldn't have done that, but it was safe. It's their agent. They have an NDA. They have a contract, whatever. They trust him not to, you know, and the Mayhews lived in Texas. They had a lot of guns. They weren't, you know, like they would get a different kind of justice. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
But like, so he gets fired, and Chewacca was his big guest, right? Like that was the one that would get him into events. And then other Star Wars actors trusted his legitimacy because of getting Peter and Chewacca into events, right? Yeah. So like that was one of the original cast. It you know, he didn't have Mark Hamill, he didn't have something, but he had Peter Mayhew. Okay. And so that was what, and then he'd say, if you want Peter Mayhew, and this is where he harmed his clients, and this is where he harmed like the Mayhews especially, he would not give them offers if he couldn't book all of his 10 people on the side.
Okay, I see.
Right.
And they probably weren't aware of that.
And they weren't aware because he was the contact. And so Peter was not getting gigs to go and sign if Zach couldn't also get some, you know, long list of people on the thing. And so you'd ask, I didn't finish. So let's say somebody's a $10,000 guarantee. So Zach will make his 10%, right? He'll get 1,000. He'll also get a per diem from the convention. So like $75 a day to be there to eat. But then the convention also feeds you almost every meal. So really that per diem for a lot of people is just like extra petty cash that they can keep. And then if let's say that the like Austin St. John, for example, let's say that he doesn't have a line and he only makes $3,000. The convention now has to pay $7,000 for that appearance. So it's called a guarantee. Some people that are smaller or that they know the show is hot, they'll go to an event without a guarantee.
No.
But what I find is like if you have a guarantee, the show tries harder to make sure you're in a good spot. The show tries harder to make sure you're happy, you're fed. They try, you know, like they'll run stuff for you. If you don't have a guarantee, they don't care if you make any money because they're not on the hook.
Right.
You know, so they, you know, and probably shows will be mad at me for saying that.
Oh, when I was at Rangerstop,
from a negotiating standpoint, but
they all had guarantees. They were all tracking selfies, tracking autographs. And I know JDF, he never really took a guarantee because he would always have faith in himself.
He went to shows that he would stand on his table and he would rile people up. And there's nothing stopping these other guests from doing what he did.
No.
But they would sit there sometimes with no line and they would look at him. Look at Jason David Frank thinking he's top of the world. No, he had 200 people in his line that were super stoked that they finally got to meet the guy. And so he was trying to live up to their expectations. If anybody ever need like their own room on the side, it would have been him because then it wouldn't have bothered everybody else. But like engage, you know, be emote. Like and JDF was also one that I saw that would stand on the outside of his table. Somebody would take the money behind the table and he would come out and he'd sign sideways on the table so that he could be out there and shake hands, so that he could wrap his arm around somebody to take a selfie. Like he was in it, man. Like he was the real deal.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't think there is anyone who has his personality or charisma.
Yeah.
Because when I was at Rangerstop, you know, they would have little rushes, but no like constant line, and you would see people just sitting down on their phones.
Right.
So, but
yeah, no, I mean, and also he was a true martial artist, right? Where a lot of the guys were, you know, they had stuntmen or whatever. They had, you know, they weren't.
What are you talking about? ASJ was a multi-blender black belt.
Absolutely.
And all that stuff. Like he taught John Wick. But,
yeah.
But let's go back to the post. What do you think the fallout is going to be for Zach, if any? Do you think he'll experience any fallout from making such a tasteless post about JDF? Will he lose clients? Will the company out him because he says he owns the company?
He's the company. There's no That's just the name. That's just his like doing business name. You know, Galactic Productions. He has a store in Dallas, and in Dallas at the store he has a Chewacca bust right on the inside, signed by Angie Mayhew, and I believe that he uses that to try to pretend that they didn't fire him to like preserve his legitimacy, and it like
Oh,
it that annoys the hell out of me because and I'll admit it, I had asked Angie Mayhew to like make a video in the event of my death, and unfortunately she passed away back in April, but like I was
right.
like she was afraid, they didn't have a lot, you know,
Yeah,
Peter Chewbacca, even Mark Hamill didn't get paid a ton for the original Star Wars, right? So like
yeah.
they weren't making millions of dollars. They relied on autographs, and which is why when he didn't tell them about offers, it was a big deal. And so you know, but he leveraged them to make himself look good. So I've seen him, you know, when the stuff came out, when he put the condom under my bed sheets, he had no consequences from that whatsoever. His mother messaged me and called me a scumbag for spreading lies about him. I'm not even making that
Oh
up.
my goodness.
Like his mother is his biggest cheerleader, and he sent me a cease and desist from a construction law firm. Like they dealt in construction law, and so you get this cease and desist with like screenshots. You're a YouTuber, you know. I make social media content for a living. Like you just gave me content, bro.
Oh,
Like you just
100%.
like I can now post this to mock you. Like you don't ever want to give somebody a prop. You know what I
Oh,
mean? And that's
yeah.
all he did. So
Well, we have a huge prop. So you don't think any of his current clients will leave him as a result of this post? I mean, with the exception of
Nakia was
probably.
the only one that I saw respond on the post. I know of at least 10 clients that have been sent the post. Um, I don't think outside of maybe, you know, I don't know if big cons like Star Wars Celebration will want him there, given that, you know, the threats and things like that. I don't think New York Comic Con is a great example. He was not there as guests. He had a vendor booth at New York Comic Con. So
Oh,
because he could not get in, he got a vendor space and he set up his guests there, which pisses conventions off because then they are not planning for the line management around the booth.
right.
And so that's a big no-no. Like you don't spring guests on a convention without their knowledge, because then they can't plan, you know, and they can't promote, they can't, you know, all that
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah.
And
Now,
you don't want somebody getting pissed off and then they're posting on their social media that you're trash because they didn't even know you were coming, like, you know, all that stuff. But so I think we all agree that there deserves to be consequences for this, that people should drop him, that you know, within the Power Ranger space especially, he should have no sway.
oh, 100%. But you said if he's a one man show, has anyone ever challenged him? Like, you say,
Oh, all the
oh,
time.
and
George
see,
Takei sued him.
was he victorious? Did the lawsuit go
To my
anywhere?
knowledge, um, it was a matter of like whether or not he needed to honor a contract that they'd already signed, and based on how Zach was behaving, they fired him. And so I think he won the case. Zach won the case because technically the contract was valid, even if they'd had a social falling out, like they decided they didn't want to work together anymore. George needed to do that one last show. I don't know the terms. I've tried to Google it. I can't find it anywhere as far as like what the circumstances were. And I haven't run into George and Brad at a con yet to ask them face to face. But yeah, I mean, it was ugly, and you know, I had met George through Zach, right? So it was like, hey, don't blame me for how this guy be, you know. I don't know if they think I'm still with him or whatever, but I mean, I haven't been with him since 2015, 2016, something like that.
Wow. So no consequences for Zach, more than likely.
So what it comes down to, and you know, and people who are upset about this, I said this in the thread, go to that Galactic Productions events.com, look at his schedule. That is a list of his clients that he's actively booking. Looking at the old clients, that's people who he can offer offers to. That doesn't necessarily mean they're currently booking with him, but look at the list of people who are going to be at events. Those are the people currently booking with him. And a lot of them,
I'm about to
if
pull
you
that
ask
list
them
up.
socially, yeah. If you ask them socially, I had somebody, this is a voice actor, tell me that he stopped booking with Zach, but he's afraid to tell him why, because he knows that he'll have a tantrum. He knows that he'll throw a fit. He knows that like people are genuinely afraid of Zach,
Wow.
because it's not that he can harm them. It's that it's drama they have to deal with on top of whatever else they're doing in their lives. You know, it's like right there, like January, Nakia up there. If you go up like 2, Nakia was booked by Galactic Productions along with Steve and Ken. Like that was the beginning of this year. And but I had sat down with her in like 2018, 2019. I told her what he did to us. You know, so she was already kind of like not sure. And it looks like this was the last straw because she did publicly comment on that thread and say,
remove me from your. I have a screenshot of it. Yeah.
Relationship. Yeah. Did you get that screenshot?
Yeah, I got the screenshot of her post. Sky Frank, Jenna Frank, your story. And that's why I reached out to you when I saw you. I'm like, okay, this guy seems to have a personal or know him personally. That was the reason why I contacted you to try to get a little bit more information for the fans, for the community, pick your brain, because this was all new to me. Okay.
Look at that. Who is this?
This is my daughter.
You're absolutely beautiful.
she woke up and we got Paw Patrol. All right, so
you better leave that in.
Yeah. So Nakia is dropped him or
and I don't know, from the way she worded it, it sounded like it had already been done, but that she had been asking him to take her off the. I don't know. I was kind of. You ever like write a post and then you rewrite it because you're like, okay, that was really mean. But there was kind of like the first version of what I wrote. And again, I should never say this on the internet, but it was kind of like, I told you what he had done. I told you who he had hurt. And you decided to stay with him because he was going to get you money. Right. And I guess got to get paid. But it's just like the more people that worked with him, and you can see Austin St. John in like, and I just saw somebody on this list who told me they were never going to book with him again. And clearly they have. So it's a whole, you know.
I'm seeing some big names. I mean, I just met Catherine Sutherland. I saw Johnny Young Bosch at Rangerstop.
So sweet. Johnny's amazing. Karen and Catherine both. They were here at the final Alamo City Comic-Con before COVID, and I was up doing the Alamo City Comic-Con. If you want to get your autographs with the yellow and pink Power Rangers, come on down. Like we were rolling out the red carpet for Karen and Catherine.
Oh yeah, they are great.
It's like Tom Kenny right there, Dan Green, Eric's like Tom's great guy. Dan, I met him once. He was great. Eric's phenomenal. You know, Jason and Paul are hilarious. Barbara Goodson, she did at LexCon. She got on the speaker doing Rita Repulsa and Goldar. I'm forgetting his name, but the guy that was the voice of Goldar, he's got an odd name. But they did it together back and forth about like doing an announcement in character. Phenomenal. Like it was incredibly neat stuff.
Is it Kerrigan Manon or Fred
Kerrigan Mahon
Fred to something? I can't.
Yeah, no, it was Kerrigan. Yeah, and he was super nice. Like they were great people. And I think a lot of these people treat it like a business relationship.
Yeah.
And not you know, but a lot of them party with him, a lot of them go out, a lot of them like
but you know, if I'm a fan and I've seen the JDF post,
yes,
and I see that you're repping with him or you're still with him, I am going to assume that you are either complicit or bare minimum you're okay with him saying stuff like that about someone who tragically took their life on the anniversary.
I think anyone who continues to book with him has no integrity. That's the bottom line for me, because there's a thing about the law of averages. Like, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, and if they're out with Zach every weekend, he's gonna row off on them. You know what I mean? And he doesn't value human life. He doesn't value people in general, and you know, having people like that in your corner. I had a very toxic influence in my life about 18 months ago, maybe 2 years ago. And this is somebody who they had a mental problem that they were not admitting that they needed. Like, I've gone to therapy. I've gone to I took my Adderall. I took my Xanax. Like, you know, what a doctor said I needed for my ADD and all that. Like, I took it. I trust the doctors, right? But this is somebody who said it's gaslighting to tell them to go to like get help, kind of a thing. And when they were out of my life, you feel lighter. Like you're just like, oh, every day is not a conflict anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so having Zach around them, even they may not realize it, but it affects you. Like it influences your life in a real way. And so to say, well, he makes me money, and for these shows to say, well, he brings me guests, so there's nothing he can do wrong. Like,
hey, everyone needs money, and sometimes they'll compromise their morals for a couple dollars.
Yeah.
Don't want to rock the boat.
Well, and like, so I saw on his website, he listed this Good Burger 2 premiere in New York on his website as an appearance that he booked. Kenan Thompson, or what? Kel Mitchell was not at his own movie premiere because you booked him there.
Right.
He was at the movie premiere because he's in the fucking movie.
It's optics.
He put it on his website.
It's optics. It's optically, it looked like he did something when it's just there. So he's poaching. Okay, I see his strategy. He poaches events to pass off like its own to kind of give him some type of credibility in the industry. Wow.
I was with a voice actress in Nashville, and I don't have her permission to tell this story, so I'll just as a voice actress, a Star Wars voice actress, not Ashley Eckstein, and he texted her the C word, just pops up on her phone.
Oh, see you next Tuesday, huh?
Just in writing. Why would you, and she was sitting next to another one of his clients, and she's just like. And she was so concerned. She wanted to have extra security at an event that was coming up in Dallas because of this.
Yeah.
Like, stop being trash. Like it's.
I don't know if he can. I mean, this is that post is so tasteless.
Yeah. He was very overweight as a kid. And one of the shows we were at, he said, like you can hear him, I might have cheated it on her. Like, he's always worried about his weight, his appearance. And there was a very gorgeous blonde cosplayer that would travel with us. He had a couple cosplayers, and he just starts going, have you put on maybe 5 or 10 pounds? Because you're not going to get into these shows if you're gaining weight.
Wow.
And it was like, dude, like, one, you don't know anything about women because women fluctuate. Like there's all like hormonally their weight fluctuates. You don't know where she is in her cycle. You don't know if she was just on a plane. Like there's 100 things that can cause a woman to like retain water or something and gain a couple pounds. Like, did your mom that fights your battles for you teach you anything about women?
No.
But like you don't say those things, right? Like, And again, if somebody would say they were going to stop working with him, he would threaten them. He would say they were going to blacklist them. It was always a fight.
I am happy you're speaking up. So when this video goes live, maybe this will give his clients some courage to probably do the right thing or at least say something. But they know what will come with it. The threats will come with it. Should they choose to
and I may need your viewers' help for my legal defense fund when he sends me another amazing cease and desist.
Well,
if he were to contact everybody though this time,
so who has fired him?
Work to do, like because there's that one Twitter thread alone has over. I mean, I haven't even looked in like an hour or two. It had 100,000 views. 2 hours ago.
It's not going anywhere. Who are all the big people who have fired him? Like if
So like the Mayhews had fired him, George Takei fired him, and then there was the whole lawsuit fight, and then Nichelle Nichols, who was Uhura in Star Trek, who was my love. I loved that woman. I miss her every single day. She had dementia, and so she'd tell you the same story 7 times, but she did it with a smile, and she gave the best hugs, and like she was just the happiest woman. All of her stories were a complete lie. Like she would say that she pulled up her car next to Barack Obama, and when he saw who she was, he just got in. It was like, hey, no one's letting you drive a car anywhere near Barack Obama, okay? And 2, he didn't get in your car. His son was just like, none of that happened.
Yeah.
But she told the stories with such enthusiasm. Like, I love that woman.
And go ahead.
He fired him after the agency fired him because after the lawsuit with George Takei, they just didn't want to be associated with him.
Mm-hmm.
And then he got Austin St. John, and then Austin St. John has put up with him. And I don't know what they're, but like when Austin St. John first came back on the scene, he really wanted to do like a tour. Like he wanted to productize it. And his belief was that he was going to be an actor again. And and he was going to get back into the industry. And I mean, you know how Hollywood is. They want 22-year-olds, you know, or 16-year-olds that look 25 or whatever, or 25-year-olds that look 16, one of the two. But it was like he believed, you know, that, and that bottom red photo, I might have even taken that photo like that. Like that's how he looked when he had gotten
when
back.
he got back.
Yeah. And that's when we started touring, and you know, but the picture above is what he looks like now. And like, they're not casting for that in Hollywood, or I'd be Brad Pitt. You know what I mean? Like it's not, you know, they don't want the guy with neck fat on the thing, you know, so they don't want me. They are as fat phobic as Zach is in Hollywood. But he really believed, he was like, no, I'm going to be an actor again. And like, even JDF didn't have great roles.
Right.
You know, like he was in a bunch of Power Rangers stuff, but like he wasn't making big bucks in acting. You know, he got to the point where he had to make the stuff himself to be treated the right way. Right. You know what I mean? So like, but he wasn't a multimillionaire actor. You know, he made his wealth owning martial arts studios.
Yeah.
That everything I've ever heard of it has been amazing. He made his money doing autographs. Like, he was not like a movie star. Right. But Austin St. John believed that he was going to come back and he was going to be a movie star. He said he was never going to do Power Rangers again. That didn't turn out to be true.
No way.
And what I had pitched him at the time was that we were going to make a tube. And I make products for like the Mayhew Foundation and like our fundraising items and stuff. So it was like I had some ideas, and I was like, all right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to contact this artist. They're going to make a special print that you can only get in this like Austin St. John time capsule, whatever. And he was like, I love this. And so it was going to be a tube. It was going to have a print, maybe a t-shirt. Like, you tell us your size, we'd order the shirt. And then it was going to have like a couple autographed items or whatever. And like a special Ranger coin, whatever. And like, he was like, yeah, can we make it like $300? And I was like, well, based on the value of the items, it's going to be about like 85, 95, you know, like maybe $100. Like, no, we need to like really up the margin. And so like, he was just pushing me in all these directions, and it was like, no, like this is not, this isn't feasible, because people can do the math. You know, a t-shirt should not be $80.
Oh, 100%.
You know, a poster should not be $100, you know, whatever. A print, you know, if it's an original or something, you know, whatever. But so we were talking, like, he really wanted to find ways to productize himself. And
he's still trying to do it now.
$30,000. Right?
Wait. He was doing shows for how much?
I mean, I saw several of the contracts, but it was in like that $15,000 to $30,000 range. What he was getting as a guarantee. Yeah.
Wow.
And
all right. So No, I really want to keep going with this ASJ stuff. So he was getting $15,000 per show guaranteed,
and more in some instances. And then I saw him at. I'm sure people are going to say that I hate Austin St. John. Like,
I mean, I'm not the biggest fan.
He wasn't awful to me. He was kind of a cold fish in general, right?
Yeah.
But like, I will say, he gave a free autograph to my friend's son. A fan had donated a toy. He gave that to my friend's son. Like, you know, he did some kind things. He liked kids. You know, he wasn't a diva. He didn't have huge demands that I saw, you know, but again, you could tell that he was telling us he was going to get back into acting. He was going to do these things, and
just never worked out.
But so here I am talking about all this stuff. After I left and I told everybody what Zach had done to me, he made the guy that cat sits for him sign an NDA to cat sit for him, because he didn't want NDAs are like unenforceable anyway, because okay, I signed a thing that I owe you 25 grand. I don't have 25 grand. So like, you know, congratulations. You got a judgment that you'll collect $25 a month for forever. Like, what, like, you know, good job. It cost you $6 grand to slowly get some money from me. But like, you know, he made his cat sitter sign an NDA because he was so offended by all the stuff that I had said. Yeah. And again, I have no idea what's going to happen here. And I should not have said any of this and had this conversation at all. But
I'm appreciative that you did. And it's going to come out tomorrow. Anything else you want to add to this this post that Zach did, or any final words per se that you want to share, that you want everyone to know about?
Don't you want to know why Zach hates him?
Yes. I think we touched on it.
Very early story that he told me, but he had repped JDF many years ago, like 15 something years ago when he was a kid. And JDF had gotten him started. You know, like he really benefited from having him open doors for him, and then later Peter Mayhew was the one that helped him, and they kind of felt bad for him, like they were giving him their start. And so they get in a fight one night, and I don't really know what the fight was about, but the way that he says it is like, oh, JDF is this abusive jerk that was chasing me around a hotel, shouting at me. And he tells it that, and he actually said today, there was a friend of his that had commented, and then she later deleted her comment when everybody was kind of jumping on her for supporting Zach. He replied, it was the second reply on the thread. He goes, yeah, that was my Me Too moment. And it was like, are you really going to compare JDF yelling at you in a hotel hallway to women who were like coerced to hook up with producers or they'd be blacklisted? Like, if anything,
he
was my Me Too moment, right?
Yeah.
Where it was like, you know, I was upset because he was trying to bang dudes in front of me and I was just trying to go to sleep, right? And like, and he would evoke that Me Too moment of like, dude, you do not understand what Me Too is. But so JDF fires him. They have this big fight, and he hated him ever since. And he talked to people about how he was running up and down the hallway, screaming at him and all this. And it's like, I don't know where they like, but when you say kind of like, what is the last thing you want to say? Like, these are human beings, right? They've got good days. They've got bad days. They've got strengths. They've got weaknesses. Like, as much as I like the Austin St. John story about them beating the shit out of that guy, if he was on watch to keep them safe, okay, you know, but again, I wouldn't beat the shit out of somebody. So like, you know, my tolerance line is different. And, you know, like if you're in the desert and that, you know, maybe it's more hardcore. So I can kind of go, okay, maybe that was tolerable. Right. But like they act like they beat him within an inch of his life. Like they act like they just really almost killed the guy.
Austin St. John.
And they were proud of it. Right. Like,
he has a history of embellishing stories.
Okay.
And other people have said that to me.
When he said he'd be an actor again?
Oh, shit. You throwing shots. There's a story of that, you know, he got injured and some dog licked his hands and he saved his life because it woke him up or something. A story about someone's arm getting blown off and they looked up and was like, hey, ain't you the Red Ranger? You know, all these different type of stories, you know. I think JDF said some story about how Austin St. John was on his way to set before Power Rangers had come out and he like saved some girl from getting harassed and kicking guys through windows, and then they asked for autographs after. It's a lot.
Yeah. So,
but
again, I'm gonna get a lot of shit for saying this, but I think that Austin St. John and Zach McGinnis were made for each other, and I think that's why Austin St. John never worked with anyone else, to my knowledge. Like ever since he came back, Zach was the guy, and I think, if I remember correctly, the original deal they had to give, like his theatrical agent got a cut and Zach got a cut, and Zach was all pissed off about that because it was like he was like, I'm doing more than this guy ever did. He was all pissed off, but like that was his tentpole, man. And so like whatever their deal was, and whatever rev share, whatever they were doing together, he never broke with him at all. So, you know, I think he started to realize that he was never going to be an actor again, and like that wasn't going to come back around. And you know, he realized that he was an So I started talking about Fan Expo Dallas.
Fan
Expo, yes. Ever since nobody can say Comic-Con anymore, I have to keep track of all these names. You can't just say Dallas Comic-Con, St. Louis, whatever. Austin St. John was booked at the gaming section of across from the 501st, the Stormtrooper cosplayer guys. And we were there with the Mayhew Foundation. We were doing a fundraiser, and I think we were raising for kids with cancer at the time. And across the way, under this banner of like gaming, like the autographs at Fan Expo are like the opposite side of where the 501st are, like literally opposite walls. Like you cannot be farther apart. And in front of the 501st is the gaming area where there's like PCs set up, and then right in the side, Austin St. John with no line. Like just sitting, and it was one of these instances where Zach would get a vendor booth because the show didn't want him.
Oh.
And so he had a handful of Rangers, and I won't name a couple of the other ones because I like them and I don't want to put them down. But like it was just Austin St. John just sitting there with no one, and that's like bigger guests that are trying to like get bigger guarantees. They don't ever want to be seen with no line, right? But where it had come down to where Austin St. John is now on the same level as everybody else that you could just walk right up to their booth. So when he came back, it was a big deal. And it was a big deal for 2 or 3 years. And Zach seems to be convincing some conventions that he's still a big deal. And he does get him into things. But a lot of things like that New York Comic-Con, they weren't guests. As far as I could tell, like they were in a vendor booth. So unless there was some weird deal, but normally if they're in a vendor booth, like just like what I'd seen it. But so everyone goes to the autograph area looking for celebrities and he's over there. So if he stuck with Zach, and Zach is not doing a good job of keeping him top of mind. But you can't go back to the same show every year, right? And that's what happened. And I think that's how Zach is harming his clients, because when he books the same 10 people into the same show year after year, I saw them last year. I saw them the year before. Like you need to wait a year or two so that the demand comes back, and you have to be conscious about how recently was I near here. Well, and like, what's the radius of what this show attracts people from? You know what I mean? Well, but he keeps booking. You can look at the list. He keeps booking people year after year, and that's costing the show money because they still have to pay those guarantees. They still have to pay those flights, all that stuff. Like, and it harms the value of that guest's autograph to where they can ask for less at future shows because of all the ones that they bombed at. And promoters talk. Promoters will tell each other, "Hey, I had so and so. They had no line. Don't believe the bullshit that they're $40,000 to get about to your show." You know what I mean? Like like promoters, and agents talk too. Like when agents see somebody doing poorly and they snap a picture, like all that kind of stuff. It's not good.
Yeah, and at Rangerstop, Austin was charging like 60 a signature, 60 a picture. Which I was talking to Francis. She said that's way more than what they normally do. But you got to remember that Austin, he has them legal fees that are not. They're just creeping up. Yeah, they're just creeping up. And
if the PPP loan program was a big deal because that was supposed to be a thing that helped a lot of people. And my girlfriend and I are self-employed, but we don't have employees. Yeah. And so at the time during COVID, we were able to get like a small grant from PayPal, but we weren't able to get actual help. Yeah. And like, so hearing guys that took advantage of this program, it was supposed to be for people who couldn't keep their employees paid during COVID. And so if he was giving that to people that weren't his employees, and why did he have employees? Like, I know of fans that volunteer and work with him and help him with stuff. There's a lot of people like that like they're excited to work with the Power Rangers, so they'll volunteer with them or whatever. But if they feel that he was giving that money to somebody he shouldn't have, it's probably because he was.
I mean, that's what they alleged, and I always have to say allegedly, but a lot of people.
That is what the FBI, with all of their abilities to scan his stuff, that is the conclusion. But the feds have like a 96% conviction rate or something, which they keep telling us because of Trump, right? That it's like, nah, the feds don't get you unless they got you. So
we'll see. We'll see how it prevails.
But I think Austin St. John will face consequences and Zach will not. And I think Zach will find him a new tentpole person if Austin St. John goes to jail or whatever. He's going to live off of all the autographs that he's got at his store that I don't know how.
Yeah, I've actually seen him selling autographs. Someone
JDF.
Yes. Someone
currently he has someone. He had a JDF. Somebody posted that photo in the thread.
Yeah, it was like, oh, you selling this for $1,000? It's like, oh, it's the last one he signed. But he's selling his signature.
They hated each other. How would he have his last autograph?
He's all about money. About money.
Sad. That is really sad.
Because he's about money, he doesn't care. And this is a piece of shit post, which sounds to be like about a piece of shit person. And we'll see what happens down the line.
What is this? Hundreds have followed suit in your name too. Like, have hundreds of people taken their lives because JDF did?
Not to my knowledge.
I mean, that's a huge accusation if it's true, and I feel like we'd have heard it by now.
Yeah, if
But he's
someone
like he has to make his point bigger. Like that's why I think Austin St. John embellishes, because they lived in this man's shadow. Okay, and that's not a fanboy thing. Like I knew both of them. I knew Zach. Like I was very fortunate to have worked with both of them. But like they lived in that, and if JDF was still alive, he'd still be pulling 10,000, 30,000. You know, like they'd still be flying him to Dubai. They want him, right?
Yeah.
And they were going to pay for it, and he was going to work his ass off at every one of those stops. He was going to get on the table. He was going to get the people cheering, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like you can hear this blaming JDF for other people taking their lives, like, and then there's been so much smoke blown. Like people loved him.
They still love
Zach
him.
can't understand that in his brain. Like it's impossible for someone to really be loved like that. And Zach feels like he knows all of JDF's flaws and everyone else is wrong, and he's the only one that's right.
Pure
This
hatred,
is
right
gaslighting.
here.
This is literally trying to tell us all that this guy was not
The thing that irks me is he said, "I wish your castmates would speak the truth, as I've dropped most of them and I don't care anymore. You were an a-hole." So is he saying like his castmates are losers, which he dropped, and they too hated JDF?
Let's burn a bridge, because I was here for this moment. WalterEJones is a great dude. Like I have not a bad word to say about him. I was with him at a show, and JDF had tweeted something along the lines of Johnny Young Bosch is my favorite Black Ranger. And I was in the car with Walter when that happened. And you could see his face just sink. And it was like, dude, what the fuck, right? So like, I don't think Jason always thought before he spoke. I also have that problem as seen on this entire interview. But like it hurt Walter. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I have ADD. I don't know anything about JDF if he had ADD or whatever, but like with ADD, there's a lot of impulse control stuff. So like you think something, you speak something, right? And like that was something. I'll probably get a text message tomorrow like, dude, what the fuck? That's not your story to tell. And you're right, okay? But it was an example of when JDF had done something that was hurtful and innocent at the same time, right? Like that he probably didn't think twice.
Right.
Like he was just repping his friend. And the next day, without thinking, he probably would say, my favorite Black Power Ranger, and he'd be talking about WalterEJones, right?
Yeah.
Like so but also he and Johnny were on the same show together for a long time.
Yeah, Johnny's in a new movie, I believe, or he wanted him in a new movie.
So,
yeah,
like, you know, if that's, it's a shitty thing to say. It is like you know, I don't mean to like speak ill here, but like that hurt Walter. You could tell. But if that's the type of stuff they're talking about, I, as somebody with ADD, understand the impulse of just, oh God, I didn't mean it like that. Like, you know, like it's just like this is my homie. Right? This is my favorite, like, but he wasn't thinking that comment was at the expense of a bunch of other people.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it wasn't hurtful. So I think, you know, and working together for what? How old is Power Rangers? 30 years old?
Yeah, just had their 30th anniversary.
Yeah. So like you're gonna butt heads with these people. You're gonna butt heads with them while they were teenagers, right? They were in their early 20s. They like, I mean, there's gonna be beef, you know, and I know, you know, David Yost said that he had a very uncomfortable time on set because he was gay and they didn't treat him well. And like, you know, I fully support his frustration in that, and his resentment towards the people that made him feel that way is valid. Right. Yeah. But they either got along or they didn't. They didn't have to be friends.
Right.
Right. And so Zach trying to stay, I think he's embellishing. I think he's taking these little moments and he's making mountains out of molehills. And he's saying that these people have this hatred for JDF, when I think a lot of them, if you were to ask them like off the record, I think they would say that Jason helped many of them by bringing in Power Rangers fans that wanted to get everyone's autograph. Jason did things that awarded his co-stars or even, you know, co-cousins of distant shows. So I think, you know, I think every one of them would speak from a position of gratitude, knowing that we're all human. We're all flawed. And I'm sure there was beef and good and bad blood here and there across 30 years. If you and I were to go out together and do our show, we'd be at each other's throats for something, right?
Oh, eventually, yeah.
You know, so I got the middle finger from one of my best friends today over dinner, and I deserved it.
Yeah.
But you know, like shit happens. So if I'm wrong and he did something truly awful to anybody and I don't know about it, I know that people always say like when women are being harassed, somebody goes, he didn't do that to me, and I fully acknowledge that I might be completely ignorant, but having spent a lot of time with him, you know, and knowing kind of how I am with kind of that impulse control issue, like sometimes I speak for I can't lie. Because if you ask me a question, like you've heard me, I'm like, oh shit, I shouldn't say. Like I know it's gonna be like, but
it's gonna come back on you.
Yes, yeah. So the Matthew Egan Legal Defense Fund can be found at. He'll send me a cease and desist.
And say what? It's ironclad right here. There's nothing you said. You didn't accuse him of anything. You didn't defame him. You just spoke the truth.
Everything is my opinion. Everything is things that I was personally told. You know. It's the truth is too interesting to make anything up,
right?
You know, I can tell you stories about hot tub three-ways, and not that I was in all sorts of crazy, like you know, people needing to get coke for members of the Buffy the Vampire Slayer cast.
Holy shit!
Like all sorts of crazy stuff. I earned an original from one of the most famous comic TV animation creators in history. And I can't tell you what I did to earn it.
Holy crap.
Comic-Cons be wild, man. Comic-Cons be wild.
I imagine like the after parties get crazy.
Yeah. Well, and some of these people, there's a lot of mental health. You know, you hear about celebrities taking their lives a lot. And I try not to say the S word because I know that YouTube hates that. But, you know, a lot of these folks, they're not at their prime. They're not at their prime anymore. I hear they're past the time when they were on the show on Wednesday night in prime time, right?
Yeah.
And it's their glamour is behind them,
right?
Except for WalterEJones, who seems to just be an actor forever. Because he's more handsome now somehow than he was.
Black don't crack. Black don't crack.
I just saw him a couple weeks ago.
I saw him too. I got a picture with him at Rangerstop Orlando.
Okay, yeah, he was just at Rhode Island Comic Con.
Yeah,
he was super nice. I walked up to him. I didn't realize he still was on Zach's list, but he was very, very polite. He'll probably never speak to me again after this, but
probably not. Probably not.
I tell this story, dude, because I want to make sure that I'm not trying to sugarcoat that JDF was a person without flaw, right?
Right.
I'm not a very religious person, but you know, he embraced his imperfections and he, you know, he was the best. He did his best, but he didn't always measure up. And he was the first one to tell you that, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%.
I try to tell that story about Walter because I had been there when he had said something that had been hurtful to a member of his cast. And you know, Walter didn't deserve that. It was nothing, you know, it sucked.
Yeah,
because it felt personal, right?
It probably felt personal, and JDF could have just been joking around. You know, just caught up in the moment. You know, Johnny Young Boschman did something that, you know, he remembered. He was like, oh yeah, my favorite Black Ranger is Johnny Young Bosch.
Right.
So,
yeah. Yep.
But thank you, man, for this phenomenal interview. On a whim, I hit you up probably
you did
5 minutes before. It's almost midnight over here where I'm at.
You told me, can we do it in 10 minutes? And I was like, and I looked in the mirror, and we just got back from we were at the Earthlight New Worlds conference in Austin. It's a bunch of astronauts and scientists and all that kind of stuff. The Peter Mayhew Foundation won the Earthlight Award.
Oh, nice.
For philanthropy. So yeah, and they gave us this cool spinny globe thing that it has like water inside and it needs like solar energy or something like that to keep moving. But like we had this amazing weekend and everyone was pumped, and like Angie Mayhew's goal was to make sure that Peter was remembered for more than just Chewacca. Like, and so he would go to conventions with Zach and he would sign a bunch of autographs and he would donate like half of the money that he lived off of to whatever cause the fans were pursuing at the time. And so like the 501st, all those guys that dress up, they would say, hey, this is this family. Their daughter has cancer. We're trying to help them pay the bills because dad hasn't been able to work because he's been at the hospital with his daughter. So we go, okay, and Peter would donate, here's 10 grand, and then they'd raise 10 grand, and then the family would get 20.
Wow.
And then as time went on, we started raising more money and doing that as a fundraising piece. And so like Peter was the real deal. And, Peter would give of himself from his own pocket, to make sure that kids didn't suffer. We're doing a big truck trip right now. We're driving from Texas, doing Austin, Fort Worth, Dallas, Houston to one of the hospitals that one of our kids, Maya, who had stage 4 liver cancer, and she kicked its ass. We're going to take toys to Andy Anderson, and then we're going to Baton Rouge, to New Orleans, to Mobile, Alabama, to Pensacola, and then stopping in Orlando so we can go to Galaxy's Edge and every children's hospital along the way. Dropping off 5-6 boxes of big boxes of toys for the kids there. The 501st meet us at every stop, so then they in costume take the toys to the kids.
Oh, that's even better.
It's cool. Yeah. It's cool.
That's even better.
So like we're on this high from this past weekend, right? And then I get a text, and it was just like, and you read something and you're like, this can't be real, because he's never done this in writing before like this. Like all these people have stories, but like, how do you look at that and say, that's somebody I want representing me? That's somebody I want to be the first person someone calls to reach me? No.
Yeah. I'm wondering, do the contracts that the actors and actresses sign have like some morality clause that he has to abide by?
He writes the contract.
Oh, yeah. They're stuck then.
So it's stuck. Yeah. And or the show writes the whatever, but sometimes they'll have requirements like you can't book a show within 50 miles within 6 months or something, or you can't, they'll have these rules of what you can and can't do. And some of the shows probably have a morality clause, like in the event that somebody gets indicted by the FBI for embezzling money, they can't be, they could drop their contract from a show. Now, I don't know that happened, and please don't read in that I know something that happened.
Austin St. John,
I was way out of the loop by now. Yeah, no. I got to watch out for Austin St. John will just come for me himself, like from the sound of it, or his battle brothers will pop out of the woodwork and put my ass. I don't know.
His battle brothers, but, I guess.
I heard what they did to others. If I turn up missing,
well, we have your last testimony. If should anything happen, I mean,
imagine if this is the last thing I ever said.
That would be wild. That would be wild. I would really have some concern about my safety if they pop you, and then would they come for me for giving you the platform?
That's true. Blame? No, you got a daughter. My kid's 21 or almost 21. Spare this man. Rabid Austin St. John fan.
Yeah, I mean, I was there. No one recognized me, so I didn't really care. It was a good time. Positive.
Go to New York Comic Con. Austin St. John will sign your autograph on a starter cap, man. It's all good.
I doubt it. I don't. Someone told him who I was after, and he said if he would have known who I was, he wouldn't have took the selfie with me. And I'm like, well, I mean,
never meet your heroes, man.
Ain't that
you ever have those friends that are like handlers at conventions or whatever? This is to everybody. Like, it's not as glamorous as you think.
Well, like, here's the thing, right? Walter accused me of talking crap on him. He was like,
"Oh, great! Oh, so here I am talking about Walter, and you're already on his bad side."
He was like, "I'm like, because a super fan. I went with a super fan to Comic-Con, and I was like, oh, we wanted to get this story about, I guess, some time that that Walter and JDF had a disagreement about some signatures or something. It was a instance where JDF signed something. He said, go to give it to Walter. He'll sign it for free. And Walter didn't like it. He said it was a prank and all this other stuff. And, I was on Walter's side when I heard the story because I know how, pivotal the autographs are.
Yeah.
But when I met him, he's like, oh, you the guy who been talking shit about me. I'm like, nah, man, I've defended you. I've been, I'm black, you black,
you know how it is. They'll take one line that they didn't like, and then all the nice things you said are irrelevant. And like,
he was.
Like, I talked to Walter last week at Rhode Island Comic Con, and I asked him, hey, Peter Mayhew's going to win this award. If we have a chance, can I grab like 30 seconds of you because you travel with Peter a lot? And even though he's still booking with Zach, he said, yeah, man, absolutely. because he had respect for Peter and the craft and all that. So like, Walter, if you're watching this, nothing but love, man. I just, I wanted an example of JDF being human. That's all.
All right. I mean, we'll see what response this video gets. Normally I do live streams, and that's where my Power Ranger audience comes from.
Got it.
So I'll put this video, I'll heavily promote it. Hopefully you promote it, get the truth out there.
Yeah. Send me the link tomorrow.
Some people see it.
It's weird with promoting YouTube these days, because it's like, if you share a link on Facebook doesn't want you to leave. So they like suppress. It's so hard to promote anything these days.
Yeah, it is. But I'll promote it everywhere. I'll put it on Twitter. Anywhere and everywhere I'll promote it. My audience may promote it as well. Any last words, Matthew? And you've been phenomenal. This has been a great interview. You've given so much story that I've never heard. I'm going to have to chop this up and, title it out.
Oh, no.
No. Everything is...
It'll be short. I'm screwed.
Everything will get in. But I'll have to chapter it out. So what'll happen is...
as long as if I say something really bad when it's all chopped up, you give me a copy to post on, or collab me in on Instagram or whatever.
I don't like cutting my interviews.
Okay.
The only thing I'm gonna do is cut my daughter out. But I like them to be straight through. I mean, it is what it is. But I like my interviews to be straight through, no cuts, because it gives a form of authenticity. Hey, we're not mincing words. We're not, let's reshoot that. None of that stuff. We're just two guys having a conversation about a piece of shit posting a tasteless post.
Well, and that's honestly, I'm glad we had a chance to meet, and hopefully we can stay in touch. But like this, for me, my phone was ringing off the hook. I had people send me screenshots. I had people send me I was looking at the shared posts, but it was like, I knew that when this happened, I needed to tell people what had happened to me, because this is one instance, and if this is the only thing they've heard, they might find a way to excuse it. But I wanted to, so it was just like, hey, because let's say he tries to sue me for defamation. It's only defamation if it's not true.
Correct.
Okay? And I have been saying exactly what happened to me for, 7 years or whatever. And, I have no ambiguity for what happened. So it was my, his word against mine, whatever. Like, there's no defamation there, right? He had a condom under my bed sheet so that my toes would touch this slimy condom under the bed sheets. Like, not my proudest moment, but
yeah. Well, the story's gonna be out, man. Thank you so much. Stay on for 1 second. All right, let me make sure I like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.